Box 16.1 deals with international agreements that support marine conservation. So these agreements have been extremely important in underpinning a drive to conserve and prevent further declines in marine biodiversity. It's all really started with the World Summit on Sustainable Development that occurred in 2002 in Johannesburg in South Africa. And this was the follow-on meeting to the Earth Summit, which was held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. Importantly, the WSSD, as it's known, dealt with cross-cutting sustainability issues. They addressed both economic and social development in the context of environmental protection. In other words, there was a recognition that economic and social development had to go hand in hand with protection of the environment. Now, this led to some important commitments that were adopted across the world by the world's nations. One of these was the commitment to adopt the ecosystem approach. If you're a fisheries scientist, you'll be familiar with the term the ecosystem approach to fisheries management. In other words, when we're managing human activities in the marine or the terrestrial environment, what this recognises is the need to take into account not only the consequence of the activity on the natural environment that is subjected to that activity, or the species in question that might be harvested, for example, e.g. a species of fish or possibly a certain type of tree in a forest, but it recognised the need to take into account the wider consequences on the broader ecosystem of those harvesting or exploitative activities. The other commitment was to adopt and implement the FAO Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries, which has as its heart the ecosystem-based approach, taking into account the broader impacts of fisheries activities in the marine environment. Was a commitment to maintain the productivity and biodiversity, particularly in vulnerable marine areas and also coastal areas. In other words, there's a recognition of the current decline in biodiversity and productivity occurring around the world, both in terrestrial and marine landscapes and seascapes, and hence the acknowledgement to maintain, or in fact recover, productivity and biodiversity is an important commitment. The importance of biodiversity in terms of underpinning many of our ecosystem goods and services is also acknowledged in the commitment to halt biodiversity loss. So the WSSD was then followed by the United Nations Conference of Sustainable Development in 2012, and this led to the development or adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals, otherwise known as the SDGs. In the context of this textbook, SDG 14, which relates to life below water, is undoubtedly the most important, and it has helped to frame the conservation discussion around the world on the importance of conserving the marine environment and the organisms that live there.